Kalimeraki, kalispera, kalinichta. No matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be, thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. It's the morning, afternoon, and evening, the night before. History made at the Emirates, ducks being broken, and the night we fell in love with David Raya. Let's rock and roll.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Hello, Squaddies. Welcome back to another live edition of the Highbury Squad. Many of you are out and about still. It's an unusual hour for the show, but we're getting back to some type of schedule. And when I can grab this fella, I always do. So those of you listening on replay on our audio platforms, thank you for tuning in too. Back to Squad Central, one of your favorites, Mr. Tom Canton.
How are we doing?
At ease, Scotties, at ease. Yes. I mean, if you're an Arsenal fan and you're not feeling good today, I don't know what to say. I know you're not feeling good because you got a throat thing going on.
Head, everything. Yeah, basically, if it's sympathy pains for Porto's manager is what it is.
Oh, we'll talk about him a little bit later on. We won't give him too much oxygen, though. I wonder if he's put that cigar out. Just wondering, asking for a friend, you know. At ease, Squaddies, at ease. Good evening to each and every one of you. Thanks for being here as always. We have our chief like officer in the house, absolutely reminding you to hit that like button. So Nicholas, you make the best titles. You know what? I was kind of proud of this. Then I saw Tom's A Little Ray of Sunshine, and I thought that was pretty good too. Yes, I think Tom and I, well, you know, we'd like to pat ourselves on the back every now and again, but Saving Private Raya, why not, hey? I like that one. Not too bad. PW, Yasso, Lynn's in the house. Hello. And let's see. We've got Wesbird's here. Andrew's here. Reggie's here. Chandini's here. Aditya's here. Archangel's here. Is it late for you in Australia? Not too sure. Trev's here. Everyone's here. BX Gunner, thanks everyone who has made it to the show this evening. Wow. Super Tom. You were there, and this is why I was texting Tom at 1 o'clock in the morning UK time, and he was still 10 minutes away from getting home. Yeah. And I said to him, do you have a spare 45 minutes tomorrow? Because I wanted to get the juice on being there, not only as a fan, but also in the press box, how you contained yourself. I didn't. Real quick, did you and Harry, I was thinking of, I was like, please look after those boys.
Well, actually, it was actually James Green. Because I was chatting
who
with
broke the curse.
Yeah, he was sitting in like the overflow section. And then when we won the shootout, obviously I was finished typing up my, you know, the full-time bit in the blog. And then I just jumped out my seat and ran over to James with just like, yeah.
And as you remember, Squaddies, James was on the show the other night, and he gave us a little bit of a background in terms of, you know, kind of maybe cursing the Gunners when it comes to certain games, certain competitions. So we said to him, if you're going to go, don't tell anyone that you've gone. But he went, and we broke the duck in the quarterfinals, and James broke his duck too. The atmosphere last night, amazing. Take me to the top. And by the way, the photos that you're seeing this evening are courtesy of Lower North Bank. So beautiful, the pictures. I think you'll enjoy them, Squaddies. It was a really magical night. Once that anthem starts, everyone gets into it. Here's some fans ahead of the game enjoying their moment. There's Fergus in the background there without a beer in his hand. And I'm like, oh, there he is, singing his heart out as well. And of course, that moment came where the lights go down and the anthem kicks in. Tom, talk me through that a little bit. Getting there, the anticipation, and the build up to the match.
Well, I was actually with Lower North Bank before the game because I met with Mike, our mutual friend, whose birthday it was yesterday as well. What a birthday gift he got.
Yeah, happy birthday,
for lunch.
Magic.
So I headed up early to meet up with them and the guys. And obviously, I'm the only one not drinking because I'm being professional. You know, I've got to stay professional and have the softies. While everyone else around me is drinking, Charles Watts comes along and I'm like, "Oh, you're working?" He's like, "Nope." So he grabbed a pint and he was going as a fan. So I was like, "Great." Even my fellow journalists are getting on it for the game, and I'm the only one who's not. And getting into the ground, I think there was a real sense of like motivation, of course, and togetherness from the fans that the noise was going to be brought, because they were in there a good 20 minutes before kickoff properly. It was about 3/4 full by that point, and by 1/4 it was basically 90% full inside the ground, which is something I've always been desperately crying out for to see, is so many of the fans in there as early as possible so that they can wave the flags and chant the songs and try and drown out the European away fans, which in every team we face so far at the Emirates this season, be it Lens or PSV or now Porto, of course, as well, and Sevilla, their fans always bring their noise, and it was always going to be about drowning them out. And we did that really well throughout the game. There were periods where it got quieter, but getting the goal before half time was so important to what we needed to do, because that settled things for us. Yes, there was frustrations and nerves about where it was going, but getting that goal before the break so that we weren't thinking, well, if we don't score, we're going out, sort of thing. And all we had to do was try and find that second. And I don't know about you, I went into half time so vexed because of the one added minute. I was fuming with that because it just seemed like the biggest load of twaddle like you've ever seen. Like, they were time wasting. Goal kicks were taking 85 minutes to take. Pepe was going down. Otavio was going down. And a minute. And I was like, nah, this isn't going to align for us, is it? Like, everything's going to go against us. And thankfully it didn't.
Yeah, I had a bit of fun with that. By the way, you got to give Pepe kudos. 41 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude, I don't know what his diet is or what his genes are like, but my goodness, massive respect to him. He was kind of on his best behavior last night, but I did tweet about the 1 minute. I kind of had a little bit of a joke doing the Monica Geller 7, 7, 7. I just don't understand it. It's ridiculous. And the inconsistency is what drives fans mad. By the way, did anyone else think the referee looked like Trossard's brother?
Yeah. Did you see Harry retweeted something very funny? Did you
Adonis?
See
it? Yeah, that was from Adonis, who is a producer. I think he's at The Athletic. I want to say The Athletic or The Zone. I think it's The Athletic. Really great guy. Used to be a producer at TalkSport. And I think he's up to 18,000 likes on it. And it's a picture of Trossard and the referee. And the quote is, "What did you get, Mum, for Mother's Day?" Just really clever, brilliant stuff.
His mum says you don't call enough, I think, wasn't it?
There was that one too. Someone did.
Yeah.
Yes, someone did that. He's his uncle. Very, very funny. Yeah, Pepe, unbelievable. So, Tom, I was starting to get a little bit worried. I think I have PTSD. It's probably understandable for most Arsenal fans. Before we get to the drama, I want to talk about the game just a little bit.
Yeah.
The disallowed goal in the stadium, I got some messages from friends of mine in the stadium who were able to actually get a text message out. What happened? We can't see it. Why did they disallow it? The shirt pull. Did you guys think at the time it wasn't a goal? And then when you look back on it, do you agree with the decision?
It was difficult from where I was sitting from the press box. It was the complete other side of the field to see, without all doubt, even though I had my glasses on as well, that I couldn't see like what had led to the collision and the players going down that then led to. I knew though that the ref would blow, that it would be given. It wouldn't be a case of it was given and then VAR would have to overrule it. It was a case of where I always knew that the referee was going to give that foul. So I was kind of just waiting for the replays to see why or what had been given. And it is a clear shirt pull from Havertz. So I haven't got too many complaints, to be honest, about that. Arteta got booked, I think, in the ramifications of that. But yeah, I didn't have too many complaints because he's got, like, I think it's Pepe. He's got his shirt like really pulling him. And Havertz had one of those games where he was just like putting himself about, like Diego Costa type performance, and pushing managers and, taking yellow cards when necessary. But I thought he was great, even though he didn't, score necessarily. But I thought everything else he did was really good.
Yeah, I mentioned that on Sky yesterday morning, that we've got players now who aren't afraid to stand up to refs, players, managers, it turns out, as of last night. I was going to touch on that a bit later on, but seeing as you brought it up now, Kai Havertz is so important to this team. You and I have talked about the curious case of Kai, and his evolution has been amazing. And I was talking about how him hitting form at this time of the season is pretty cool. But the way he is so clever at the dark arts, he may have surpassed Benjamin White because he's more physical. Ben's very... No, he's not. I mean,
Ben White's more obvious than
yeah,
Havertz. Yeah.
Havertz, and that experience in these games, Tom, is absolutely massive, isn't it?
Oh, without question. Yeah. Like, if you've got a team that you're coming up against that's playing and using those dark methods and, the street smarts and the savviness, like in Porto, the biggest word was savviness. Like, we didn't have that savviness at the end of the game. We didn't approach the end of that game in the right way. We played really cleverly and with some street smarts last night, and it paid off in a big way. And Havertz's experience, Jorginho's experience, other players in the team, Trossard, of course, I'll score, another really experienced player, despite not playing Champions League football since he was at Genk many years ago. Again, still that more experienced figurehead was really important, and we really did benefit from that. But yeah, it was good to see us kind of give it back in some ways.
Yeah. And, justice or vengeance, call it what you want. The Arsenal have done a really good job this season of payback. And my goodness, Porto deserved a payback. I mean, their manager, with the cigar smoking and the celebrating, came back to bite him in the butt. But that goal at that moment, like you said, before halftime, an amazing finish, right, to have the bottle. But let's just take a minute to talk about my captain, Martin Odegaard, who for me, from the get-go, from the whistle, put the team on his shoulders, led by example again. And I think he's now playing totally at De Bruyne levels without the medals. That's fine.
Yeah.
We had this conversation with Natalie Sawyer from TalkSport about world class. Do you have to win trophies to be world class? And she thought yes, but by the end of the conversation, when I mentioned Harry Kane and him being given the tag of world class, who haven't really won any major trophies, changed her mind. Odegaard, to me, is not only the best midfielder in the Premier League right now, Tom, but I think in Europe. Talk to me about that pass, the touches, Bergkamp-esque, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that there's obviously distinguishments between players that obviously are world class, but those that don't have the trophies. There's discussions with the whole Saka Foden debate. Foden obviously has the trophies at the moment, whereas Saka doesn't, and that's as a consequence just of the club that they happen to be at the time in which they've developed through their respective clubs. But Odegaard is and has been the perfect captain that we could have asked for, I think. There were so many questions about whether or not he was indeed the right person to choose, because everybody kind of really had Kieran Tierney as their number one pick at the time. I think Gabriel was brought up by some people as well. Granit Xhaka, of course, about whether or not we should give him back the captaincy. Odegaard was kind of seen as this guy, well, he's a technical luxury, pretty boy player. Like, are you really going to give him the captaincy? And it's turned out to be one of the best decisions that Arteta could have made, because it's like having a manager on the field in some ways, because he just breathes Arteta's philosophy, and having that leadership, having that example, that icon in the side that just kind of like dictates so much, whips the crowd up. He gets it. He's a lovely guy, which helps as well, and he is by a country mile my favorite player in the Arsenal team. And that's not to say that the others aren't close. It's just he's so far and away my favorite player. And that's why I've adorned the black away shirt from last season with his name, and no one else's. But the pass, the little feint before it, like we talk about the pass, the vision to see Trossard, but it's how he gets into the position first to actually play the pass that isn't appreciated as much. Everything that he does. And not only that, but the pressing. He ran from the first to the 121st minute in that game. I couldn't believe what I was. It made me feel tired. It made me feel sorry for him, like because he presses so much, and I think the most passing links must have been between Otavio and Diogo Costa because they kept passing the ball back to the keeper, and he kept on pushing and kept on tracking. And if he didn't do that, it wouldn't have forced Porto to go long so that we can try and recover possession and build it back. We always think about, well, why is he bothering running? Why is he, it's lots of running for no reward. He's not winning it back. He's not intercepting anything. But what he's doing is he's forcing those long balls so that we can recover and recycle possession and then have another attempt at going at Porto. So it's not aimless running about. It's without a doubt. And then I got a lot of stick back in 2021 or 2020 when I wrote an article that was like, Martin Odegaard is everything that Mesut Ozil wasn't for Arteta, along those lines. And that wasn't to say that Mesut Ozil wasn't a world-class player. He just didn't have the traits of that position that Arteta wanted, which was the running, the application of the press, and everything else to do with it. And just, Odegaard took on what Ozil left behind and has taken it forwards in an Arteta style way, which was what he needed.
Yeah, and I think Harry mentioned it on his show, and I totally agree with him. When you look at the Brentford goal, where the ball comes back to him, and instead of retreating back or passing back, he continues to move the ball forward. And you've just said exactly the same thing. He's our most I know, Jorginho, I felt couldn't really get his foot on the ball in that first half as much as we've seen him. But when he did, again, just the way they handle the ball with care. And we have a lot of players now, in addition to Odegaard, that handle the ball with care. The two of them are absolutely brilliant. And just the movement, like you said, was just undeniable. And at the end, he looked absolutely bushwhacked. I think Ramsdale kicked him up the butt, and then Jorginho went to help pick him up. And I was really worried about this break for a long time, Tom, because I like our momentum. But after the Brentford game and the intensity and the physicality of that, and then when you look at playing, extra time penalties, having these few days off before everyone goes off to international break, I'm feeling a lot more comfortable about that now. How about you? Because it seems like Saka, Rice, Havertz, especially Odegaard, the players that have really played a lot of minutes, would welcome the break too, mentally and physically.
Yeah, I think you can look at it in two ways. You can say the break's really welcome. It means a player like Gabriel Martinelli can get back fit. Jurriën Timber, of course, might be fully recovered. Let's see. Tomiyasu can get more fit than he already is. Zinchenko, Jesus, Vieira, Partey as well can continue to work on their fitness. Will we do a behind closed doors friendly? We've got an under 21s game on Saturday that we can use senior players in if we want to. As many as 5 can get involved in that on the outfield, and a goalkeeper as well. So I'm kind of, my head's at that. I want to play games. I would have rather we had Chelsea this weekend and use this momentum to take them on and to use this game as kind of rocket fuel in a way to keep going. Especially because the next game is now Manchester City as well. And it's a weird scenario where you come off the back of an international break, the players will return in a staggered state, depending on where in the world they're coming back from, whether it's, Brazil, or whether it's, South America or Asia and wherever else that they're coming back from. And they'll come back in a way in which we've then got to try and bring that back together, shake off the coaching of their international coaches and get them back acclimatized to what we expect from them at Arsenal as well, which is always something I've thought about and wondered how easy it is to transition from what a coach expects of you in your national side compared to moving into the club scene again. And then you've got to go to the Etihad and probably win if you want to win the title. I think that the draw between City and Liverpool means that we can draw that game, and it won't be like, oh, well, Arsenal have blown it. No, I think a draw is a good result, actually, but it's not an amazing result. It'd be a good result. But I think, if we want to win the title, we've probably got to win there. But yeah, it's going to be intriguing to see how we come back after 19 days without playing.
Yeah. After Dubai, I have a lot more hope as well. And just for you, where is he? AFC Max. Here's one just for you because he asks for it all the time. Since since this moment, poorly drawn Arsenal, beautiful. I put it up anytime and any opportunity I get. And 250 of you in live chat. If you like a little bit of steak, hit that like button. Only do it once. Yeah, I think that I have a little bit more faith that they can be a part, albeit the players who aren't going on international duty. And if I was Mikel Arteta, Tom, this question came up. I think James said it on our show the other night. Pull off Sir Alex Ferguson and pull players with injuries. I wish we could. Why not? Right? I mean, Martinelli thankfully isn't going. Tomiyasu once again coming back fit at the moment where he's got to go away for international duty. That's a little bit.
Has he been called up? Do you know? I haven't checked.
I haven't checked, but I'm assuming if he's fit, he will. But I'm hoping it's a little bit of a Martinelli situation as well. So yeah. All right, let's get to the big action and the big moments with you, and you can take us into the stadium with you as well. By the way, there's a really cool shot here that I have of David Raya when Trossard scores, and he's giving it to the fans. I thought last night he showed his real personality, which we haven't seen at all. And in the interview on American television at the end of the game, I thought he really showed his personality a lot. He was talking to Thierry Henry, and it was a real cool moment to see Thierry and David having a conversation. Kate Abdo then asked him about his shin pads because she noticed that they had a special design on it. Family always together, and he talked about that and what his family mean to him as well, which I thought was another lovely moment. But Tom, I'm going to be honest. My PTSD kicked in and I said, oh, it's over. Penalties. Mentally, this team has proved a lot this season. Like I said, the payback moments, but are they ready for this? When the spotlight has been on us, we've kind of, I wouldn't say failed, but the other team has prevailed. What was your thought process going into the penalty shootout? Were you confident or not?
Until after, in fact, I think till this morning, I completely forgot that we beat Man City in a penalty shootout like earlier in the season. I completely forgot we did that. And that penalty shootout, of course, I don't think we missed a penalty in that one either. And obviously Ramsdale was in goal that day and pulled off the saves that were needed. And so that wasn't in my mind. All I was thinking about was the Sporting game from the previous season. And I turned to James Benge, who was sitting next to me, and was like, who missed the shot for us against Sporting? Because I couldn't remember who it was. And it was who was it? Do you remember as well? Because it's again I've forgotten. That's how much little I tried to block that.
Was it
from my memory.
Was it Odegaard?
No, it wasn't Odegaard.
No,
it was,
tell us,
Martinelli. It was Martinelli.
Martinelli. Yeah, Martinelli.
He wasn't obviously in this team, so I said, well, we haven't got to worry about him. So that's all right. But I was sitting there as I had kind of the full time. It's going to go to penalties blog post saved, ready to post when it inevitably would. But I was sitting there with like my hands clasped, like, please just don't let it go to pens, because I've got to catch my train. And B, which was delayed anyway for another 30 minutes. So it was a nightmare getting back for most people. I spoke to Simon Collins this morning. He didn't get home until like 3 a.m., which is, I felt, bad saying I got home at 1:30 or whatever it was. But yeah, there was just a nervousness, a quietness. And then the chant started to kick in. Then the fans started to quieten down the Porto. Then we won the toss to go at the end of the North Bank, and we won the toss to take the first penalty. And I was like, okay, maybe the footballing gods are on our side here. Because if it was at the other end, I would have been. Because obviously I think we took the penalties against Sporting at the other end, if I remember correctly. So that also was a little bit of an omen that was gone. Because of my bad throat, I'd been drinking water all day, so I'd already had to run down to the toilet twice in the game. And I did it at full time, and then I did it at the end of the extra time as well. And I came up, and as I was walking up, I sat down, and James was trying to catch eye contact with me from the overflow section. And we locked eyes, and he just went, we're not winning. We're not winning because of his curse that he's got. And I was like, mate, it's fine. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. And obviously then it turned out to be fine. And when Galeno stepped up, I had this feeling that he was going to put it in the place that he put it. And the only reason I had that feeling was because of the goal that he scored against us at Porto, where he curled it around Raya into that side netting. that was, and I just thought, if you're him and you know that you can beat Raya in that corner from, you know, an even tougher scoring position, I just had that feeling that he would. And I was hoping that, well, I reckon Raya might think the same. Now, he may not have thought the same, but I just couldn't help but think that's the thought process that might be going on. And obviously, when he dives to his left and makes that save, and I just remember checking with James just before he took the penalty, I was like, he has to score, right? Like, he has to score, just to double check. And yeah, just pandemonium. I finished,
Yeah.
I wrote like, you know, goal, game over, whatever, and then just went over and hugged James briefly. Like, yeah.
I can imagine the headlines change often in games like that when you're writing. You know, it's kind of crazy. That's why I feel for the writers. It's easier to do a radio segment after, but if you're writing, you've got to have a few headlines. I want to take you back a little bit though, because there were players that stepped up. Martin Odegaard first, again leading by example, burying it, beautiful penalty. It was great. Of all, I want to talk about the penalty takers and save the best till last. Talk about mental. You know, I found it to be like incredible when you look at the evolution of this team, where mental has let us down in the past so much. Weak source players, but the monumental mental last night was unreal. Rice's penalty was brilliant. Havertz just such as cool as a cucumber. And I agree with the squaddy that mentioned Saka. He was the one I was worried about because he didn't have a great game. But again, another example. I can't remember what game he played poorly in this season, and I was begging for Arteta to sub him, and then he just comes off and scores the winner. Who? My memory today, it's a bit foggy after last night. All my PTSD kicked in. But it's happened before where he's had a poor game, and then he ends up having a moment. Maybe it was the cross to the Havertz header. That's what I'm thinking of. Which, again, another brilliant moment. I was a little bit worried about him for many reasons. He seemed to have brushed off what happened against England. But I thought that despite the fact he had a poor game, Tom, stepping up in that moment and showing your class and your quality, again, for his age, in front of that crowd, Champions League was brilliant.
Yeah, Brentford away was that Havertz header.
Brentford away, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think every single time he takes a penalty, everyone just thinks about the Euros. That is all that people go through. It doesn't matter that he's since, you know, taken one at home against Liverpool to win a massive game last season. It's not that he's had to step up in countless other fixtures and put them away. I don't think he's missed one since the Euros, if my memory serves, in competitive games at least.
The West Ham was
the West Ham one. Yeah,
the big miss. That was the big miss.
But I still think about the Euros. I wasn't even thinking about the West Ham game. I really wasn't. Obviously, you took another one against West Ham this season, so that kind of cancelled out the one from last season in some ways in my mind. So I just always try and block out the saddest moments of seasons. So, but that Euros one is what goes through everyone's mind. So for him to put the ball in a position where Costa because I think what Costa might think and what a lot of goalkeepers might think is that, well, Saka's this young kid still. I know he's 22 or whatever. He's getting older, and we keep saying he's a young kid, but he still is because he looks like one still. Is that he might just go safe and put it down the middle, and that's why Costa didn't move, because he's looked at him as the younger taker of all the penalty takers. You know, Havertz older, Odegaard older. Who else on the day? Trossard didn't take one. Come off at that point.
Declan Rice. I think
older.
Someone was. Who was going to take the last one? Was it going to be Zinchenko? Do you think?
Jesus probably would have been the last.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
And when, I'm sure we'll come through to the others who took it, but yeah, and I think that he was like youngest one. He'll go safe. I'll stay in the middle, and he just planted it in the side. You're not even saving that at any chance that you've got.
Yeah,
so yeah, brilliant.
It was sweet. It was really sweet. The Havertz penalty, Archangel, I don't know, you're good at your stats. 21 of 21 penalties.
Yeah.
Cool as a cucumber, come into his own.
He's German.
We talked about him.
They score penalties. That's what they do.
That's what I thought. That was my take. I will leave that one at that. Declan Rice, who's been just, when you look at the signings in the summer now, you know, you look at Declan Rice, you look at Havertz, you look at David Raya. I mean, again, improving season on season. You know, January, Trossard coming in had a massive impact. But Declan Rice, just a beast, absolute beast, isn't he?
Again, I can moan about James Benge here because as Declan Rice steps up, I get a little tap from James that says Declan Rice has scored one of his last 3 penalties. And I was like, why have you said that for? And then when he scored it, I was like, 2 of his last 4, mate. Now, I can write that down. But yeah, no, it was a very confident penalty again. I've not actually watched any of them back since other than Saka's, which I've seen go around on social media. I've not seen any of them back because I watched them. Because as I'm watching them live, and yes, with the little television screens in the press box, but after it's gone in, I'm typing, frantically of what's happened. So I haven't seen any of them back, but I can, just picture them so perfectly in my mind of just watching it from the lower row of the press box, which if you're in the lowest row of the press box, anyone who's sitting in the fan section in front of you blocks your view. So you spend half the time working your hamstrings because you're sitting, like that seated position without having a chair underneath you against the wall. It's basically like that for a lot of the game, and then using the television screen as much as you can as well. And I'm usually in the second row, so I'm usually quite happy. But European games often get put in the front row. So yeah, it was again another very confident penalty.
This is why I like the new stadiums here in MLS. The press box is high, and the way they build them architecturally, it's really really cool. Okay, so we've talked about Declan's penalty, Saka's penalty, Odegaard. We've talked about the fans, the atmosphere, a little bit about Pepe and showing respect to him. We like to do that. But the hero and the man of the moment, David Raya, a seminal moment, Suburban Gooner Chris said to me on Twitter, because I was talking about how we've been waiting. I respected him, I didn't like the decision at the time, Tom, in the sense of how it was done. I never questioned that he would be a better keeper or not, but it was the method of which it's done. I don't know if I'm ever going to question Mikel Arteta ever again. I'm just letting the squaddies know on this show. I may not. But talk about he's never played in the Champions League. Am I right with that? Yeah.
Before this season, yeah.
Before this season. And we were waiting for something like this to happen for him. And we were waiting for him to find a way to connect with the fans. And my goodness, did he pick the absolute best moment. On the interview with Thierry Henry, he was actually bummed because he said, I should have saved 3. That was his first response.
That's great.
And I think now when you look at it, the mental difference maybe with Ramsdale and his interview with Ian Wright, which I don't think we want to, this is the last time we're going to talk about this on this show in terms of bringing all that crap up. Ramsdale was the very first to go over. He was waiting on the sidelines. You can tell us, Tom, he was hands on his knees, just waiting. And as soon as he saved it, he just ran towards him and they had this really beautiful moment and hug. It was a spectacular first save and lucky that it didn't go. Would it have been allowed if it had gone off his legs and into the net?
I asked James this because I wasn't sure. And he was like, and I was in my head, I was like, I swear there's some weird rule. But I think
I've seen them not given,
I think the weird rule though is that if in an open game, so not in a penalty shootout, but if you hit the post and it doesn't touch the keeper, you're not allowed to touch it because it has to touch another player after the kicker has taken it. So if you hit the post from a penalty and it comes back to you, you have to let the ball roll. Otherwise, it would be an indirect free kick. So yes, it would have counted still if it had gone in the back. Because do you know those things where those funny ones that hits the crossbar, flies up into the air, drops down and then bounces in. They count.
Yeah, but I mean, you look, football, it was a brilliant save and you need luck to win in football as well. There's absolutely no doubt about that. He also said in the interview with Jamie Carragher and Micah Richards that Arsenal have been practicing penalties all season. A lot of the times some people think that when you go into competition that you just practice them because they might come up. And he's like, no, it's something that we've been working on all season. And the moment comes, he saves the last one, and the Emirates just compare the Emirates to the Man United late goal Eddie, the Bournemouth late goal Reece, and this moment. How do they compare?
I think this was the biggest amount of relief of all those games. I think, yes, the Nelson goal against Bournemouth was that was pure like elation because it was 3 points in the title race. This was relief because, you know, Porto aside that there'd been a lot of narrative built up, the kind of the politics surrounding the game as well, how they talked about Arsenal before the game, how people would talked about the history of never reaching a quarterfinal for the last 14 years. It was more relief, this one, than the elation of the Nketiah against United or the Nelson against Bournemouth or the Lacazette against Wolves, you know, games like this, you know, where we've scored late on, or even the Declan Rice at Luton this season as well. This was so pure relief, I think, from the crowd, but then that relief turned into, I think, excitement about what could come from that, because the prize of, you know, winning a league game, there's still a long way to go. You win a last 16 game, you're 3 ties across obviously quarters and semis with 2 legs, but 3 ties from lifting that trophy. So yeah, it was brilliant in the end to feel that emotion and relief. Yeah.
14 years, Aditya, correct,
Mm.
of letting it all out. I have to say, I popped out the room with when that happened, and then I just heard Tony. I've got Tony screaming now, which
Mm.
is unbelievable. I can't. I got to say, I got a weak heart, you guys. I can't take some of these moments. But what a moment, and what a special moment for him. And you would say that Mikel Arteta, you know, knowing how arrogant he is and ego driven he is, and you know what every top manager is, I'm not having a go at Mikel. What he's done is incredible. And I think he's one of the reasons for the dark arts rising as well.
Yeah.
You know, there's no doubt about that. But he and his coaching staff, you know, to get the team to this moment, Tom, is quite incredible. And as we pat the back of the players and the goalkeeper, his team deserves some credit too.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you've seen the images of, I think it's Carlos Cuesta after I think it's the Havertz header against Brentford. He's like the calmest man in the entire stadium. And he's just trying to get things calm because he knows the rest of the game's still got to play out on what's the next play. There's no wonder there's links with him and potential managerial jobs in the lower divisions already. It's naturally that's going to happen. But all of it, you know, our set pieces have become so threatening thanks to Nicolas Jova. And you're right to point out that Arteta has indeed instilled that. And I remember when Steve Round actually left the coaching staff and our form was a bit patchy, you know, at points. And I remember people were saying, oh, we've not replaced Steve Round. Maybe that's the reason. We always love a conspiracy. We have to try and find something to explain what is going on that's wrong. And we're not replacing Steve Round with something. You know, Steve Round's a really good coach. And they parted ways and they moved on. He's gone on to different things now. But, you know, he wants everything to be in his image, in his way. And that's the way forward for a manager. That's what you need. You have to rely on everybody. Everyone has to be singing from the same hymn sheet. Everyone has to be along the same philosophy and the same mindset. And every single one of those coaches is there because Arteta trusts them. That's not to say he didn't trust necessarily Steve Round, but just that everybody there has contributed to where we are as a club right now.
It's really cool. And then to see the moment at the end of the game as well, not only with the players, by the way, Saliba's celebration, he's fast becoming the best celebrator of Arsenal goals and at end of games. Big Gabby, of course, enjoying his moment as well. Martin Odegaard having a good moment too. It's great to see him. I don't know. I just love him like you, Tom. And then Arteta and Raya together. I can imagine this moment for David Raya was incredible, but also for Mikel Arteta too, to be brave and bold to make that decision. You have the goalkeeper of the season in the team of the season, a fan favorite. And, you know, my cousin sent me a text and all he said is #Arteta knows. What do you think this moment meant for him in his decision making as a manager? Do you think he, you know, pulled out the fat cigar and the whiskey last night when he went home?
I think he would have, I think he would have enjoyed himself for sure. It's lucky that we've got the extra money coming from the Champions League progression because, I mean, the copyright laws we've broken by stealing fist pumping off Liverpool, it's going to cost us a lot of money in those cases. So we've it's fortunate we're getting that extra financial boost, but
He does
will
it
mean
4 times though. And then he does a little.
Yeah,
He goes
we
around a
invented
little. It's
4
different.
successive fist pumps. Try that on for size, Liverpool. Yeah, maybe you can do 5 if you dare. So I think,
Brilliant.
yeah, he will have gone home. I'm assuming gone to bed pretty quickly as well because he's up the next day and straight back in the office. It's a 7-day-a-week job. I think the players are getting some time off this week, but I don't know if that means he gets at least a day or 2 off with to spend time with his family. I'm sure he'll be watching tonight the Champions League games that are on a little bit later on as we record at 6 o'clock UK time now. But yeah, he just lives and breathes this football club, and I think he does. I know he's the manager in the sense, but I get that sense that, I remember when Thierry Henry came back to Arsenal as a player and he said when he scored that goal against Leeds, he scored it as a fan.
Yeah.
I don't want to necessarily say that like Arteta's like an Arsenal fan, but I just think he's an Arsenal man. Like, I just think he bleeds this football club,
Yeah.
Like, he wanted to come back sooner. He wanted to coach here sooner. And would have done. And then as soon as the opportunity came up again, he didn't think twice about staying with Man City. He was like, no, I'm taking it. I'm doing it because, I want it.
And he really, someone I think it was in the Not Another Arsenal podcast show the other night where they asked me, everyone keeps saying, who would replace Arteta if he's gone, but then asked the question, how would you feel if he left? And I was like, I literally stopped and I was thinking, wow, for the first time, maybe not the first time, but really now I think I don't want that to ever happen. I mean, it will one day, maybe someday.
Yeah, one day.
But he's always envisioned having this Wenger-esque type of reign, hasn't he, at the Arsenal? And I tell you what I've grown to respect about him, Tom, is that he has never wavered from day one from his vision. And he knows that he pissed people off along the way. He upset mega players, rightly so, like Aubameyang and Ozil. He removed players who were nice guys, like Sokratis and Mustafi and Kolasinac. I'm not saying they were great players, guys, but they were good boys, family men. A lot of the times I like the fact that you don't really hear our players getting into trouble, and that's a good thing. The DNA and profile he set for Arsenal 2.0, totally different. And when you look at it we were happy with Kieran Tierney, and now you look at it and you think, well, actually, he's not good enough to be in this team. It's those decisions and things you look back on, Tom, and you think he's had it right most of the time.
Yeah. I mean, Kieran Tierney's a great example. Like, we fans always think like we know the answer. If something's going wrong, we always think that we have the solution. Well, some of us. And when I ask some people for solutions, they often don't provide them. Because you know me, I like evidence. But like the Tierney situation is a really good example and in January, when obviously Zinchenko's a bit injured, Tomiyasu's got a problem, and Kivior's starting to play at left back, but not necessarily doing too well because he's being asked to invert before we switch things around. The suggestions that selling Lino Souza was a mistake, and we should be starting Souza over Kivior. Kivior, the rise of Kivior under Arteta and what he's done. You look at how he and Ben White, who are by trade centre halves, have been coached to play a completely new role in a completely different way than they've ever been used to. It's startling to me.
Yeah. And, and it wasn't so long ago, season and a half ago, where people were talking about how he doesn't elevate players and make players better. And I think that when you look at Benjamin White, he's actually a brilliant example of a player that has progressed under him. And last night was just a magical moment. And he promised those moments. The Cronkies promised those moments. Josh Kroenke apparently was at the game. Edu promised those moments, and to get those moments back. And for the Arsenal fans, just a brilliant night, and one that they will never, ever forget. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit of fun now. But before we do, I'm going to ask you, the draw is on Friday. Guys, we've been craving this stuff, to be in the draw, in the quarterfinals. I'm on that, our player of the match now, who has endeared himself to the Arsenal fans. I'm so happy for him. And I'm so happy that, our goalkeepers have acted with a lot of class and showing support for each other. And this moment, just beautiful. The captain running over to him, Benjamin behind him. talking to an absolute legend afterwards. And you could see, like, at the beginning, he was a little in awe of him. But Thierry, then Saka came over for the interview, and Thierry was talking about his son to Saka like a fan, which was just a beautiful moment. And now we move on to the quarterfinals. All of these wonderful stories, these players who have really earned their stripes to put on the Arsenal shirt, they can kiss the badge and we can actually say, you know what, they mean it. Who are we getting? Who do you want?
To quote Martin Odegaard, I don't care. But I'd love to play Real Madrid. I'd love that. Like, I know that it might seem mad. To be honest, to be the best, you got to beat the best, you know. The only team I really don't want is Man City. Like, I really don't want Man City. Not because I don't think we could beat them. I think they are the toughest challenge. But because we've got the title race and this Premier League thing going on, I don't want to play a Premier League team. I don't want to play City. I'd say the same if it was Liverpool or even if it was Spurs or someone else. I wouldn't want a Premier League team in the quarterfinal. You know, I want to play a European giant, and I want to go through and not have people going, oh, scraped by Porto and all this. I want people going, oh,
Jamie O'Hara last night. I mean, I was going to phone up Jason because I love Jason. He's a very nice guy,
I like
Jason.
as well.
He's a huge supporter of our show as well. And Lynn made a comment earlier. Jamie O'Hara, what a cheek! We are the worst team in the quarterfinals. Which even Jason was like, "You got to start giving them their flowers. They're good, you know." But a lot of Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Real Madrid in the house. Some PSV.
Well, they play later this evening, don't they?
Yes, yes, they do. I want to avoid Manchester City as well until like the final, if possible.
I'll take them at Wembley. I think we can do them at Wembley. Yeah, we have done already this season. So, you know.
Exactly.
A Champions League final penalty shootout. Screw that. No way. I can't deal with that.
I can't do that. No, but I'm with Lone Star here. Anyone but City or Real. And I have to say, Bayern Munich, that you got to separate. One of the things I was saying yesterday, Tom, is Porto. You got to give them the respect for the heritage they have in this competition. And I don't know if you agree with me or not. You know, it's like when people talk about derbies and form goes out the window. By the way, this Porto team, very well organized.
Oh, yeah.
They're very clever side. Yeah. And all this scraping by is nonsense. We didn't scrape by. We dug out a win and mentally showed ourselves last night.
Ironically, they could be the toughest team we face in a weird way.
I think physically, maybe. I know, and I don't think I agree. I tend to agree with you. Bayern Munich struggling in the league, but their heritage in this competition massive. Real Madrid, some people saying, you know, they could say what they like. In this competition, there's nobody better. You Manchester City, they won it last year. There's PSG are the ones. You take Kylian Mbappe out of that. I fancy. I wouldn't. 100%. I fancy PSG. But when you face, you know, Porto have won 4 European titles. So, yeah, I'm with you. Anyone but City or Real Madrid for sure. Right. I want to give a bit more love to our players before we duck out of here. So we're going to play a little Oh My Word. All right. And I want you to give me the first word and play along, squaddies in the chat. We'll have a little bit of fun. Brilliant performance by our Gunners last night. The first word, Oh My Word, when you think about David Raya?
Solid.
Mine's heroic. Yeah. Gabriel.
Brilliant. I love that guy. Love that guy so much.
He's so brilliant, isn't he? Mine's beastly. Mine's beastly. Benjamin White.
Shit ass.
Mine's cool. I'm going to try and keep up with yours, but anyway, I can't put them all up, you guys, but keep them coming. 450 of you in live chat. Enjoy this and have a little bit of fun with Tom. Now, a player I haven't talked about, and for a lot of people, they were thinking this dude has had another solid game. You were there. What did you see? For me, Kivior, Oh My Word, is brave.
Surprising. Yeah, I'd probably go with.
That's a good one. Yeah. Okay. Surprising. That's good. Odegaard.
Arsenal.
Ooh, that's good. I'm gonna steal James Johnston's here because we always exchange messages. Saucy for me is Odegaard. Jorginho.
Professor.
Mine's balanced. I love him. I really do. Declan Rice. I'll give you mine first. Reliable.
Yeah, I was thinking dependable in my head. I guess that's the first word. Yeah, dependable.
Yeah. Trossard. I'll give you mine so you can think for 30 seconds. Tenacious is Trossard.
Justified. I'll go with.
Ooh, justified. That's
I was
even
the only
better.
one that kept saying, "Don't put Jesus in. Start Trossard." And I was sitting there so smug when he scored. I tweeted Alan Algar this morning because he tweeted me yesterday saying like, "Can't start Trossard." I'm like, "Are you glad we started him now, Alan?"
You know, I said the same thing on Sky. I said if Gabriel Jesus is fit, I play him because of his pedigree in the Champions League, and he's just been brilliant. And to be fair to him, when he came on, he nearly scored with his first touch. Thought it was brilliant, and he's going to be really, really helpful as we go down the stretch. Kai Havertz. I'll give you mine first, shall I? Filthy.
Yeah, I've already used the one for Ben White. Dirty player.
Dirty. I like that. Very good. Bukayo Halen Saka for me is courageous.
Yeah, I'll probably take yours of Brave from earlier as well. Just brave player.
Okay. And I'm going to do Gabriel Jesus because he did come on and almost score. How about just plain old godly?
Godly. I never go that far. I know they're linked with the name, but goodness me, he should have scored.
He should have. Can't finish, 2 words.
Yeah, unclinical. No, that's too hard.
He always looks upset, doesn't he? He always looks upset. Even when he's happy, he's got that face where he just does the eyebrows and he always looks upset.
Yeah, I think Jesus. The word at the moment I'm thinking about with Jesus is hope, and the hope is that he comes back and has, and comes back and stays back. So I'm kind of hopeful.
That's a good one. And of course, I've got to pick the gaffer, which I didn't actually do one for, but I'll try and do it on the spin as well. Mikel Arteta.
Disgrazia, surely.
Disgrazia.
Yeah.
Or just plain old Vamos for Arteta's Arsenal Avengers. I'm buying into the whole Vamos thing. Brilliant stuff from Mr. Tom Canton, and brilliant stuff. I'm so happy for David Raya. I really am. I couldn't be happier, and he's part of this now. This foursome here, Chemo FC. Thank you for this picture. I just love this, and this is really who we have become. We're not that timid tunnel team anymore. We're really developing into something special. And I don't know, you've seen Win around the London Colney, but I don't know if this is Arteta's actual dog, but I reckon it's this dog that he really takes to training. And this image from Sky Sports at Christmas, Tom, you've got 3 managers looking through the window. We all hope and pray that this will be Mr. Smug Mikel with a trophy under his arm this season, because it's special. And once again, I'm going to enjoy the journey, not thinking too much about the destination. How do you summarize for the squaddies? What do you want to leave them with in your 30-second parting shot?
Enjoy the break. Maybe relax a bit, recover from the emotions that we've gone through yesterday. But I think there's just so many reasons to be excited and optimistic about the future. My DMs are always open to say thank you for saying that Arteta was always the guy. If you would like to drop me a message, you can. They're always open. But no, I'm only joking. I think it's been a great season so far, and I'm really excited to see what comes of it moving forward.
If you guys are hearing some weird noises there, it's Tony winding up the clock. So Big Ben can keep chiming. It's the clock end. Well done, Tony.
Yeah, there you go. That was great.
Absolutely brilliant stuff. What have you got coming up on tomorrow's show?
I'll be reacting to obviously tonight's Champions League action and a little bit more about obviously the sides that we'll be facing in the Champions League. I'll be doing a live show when the draw is on Friday because I'm off work. I'm annual leave now for a few days. So and then I'm going to Stamford Bridge to cover Chelsea on Sunday.
What's this about?
Well, our Chelsea writer's on annual leave, so someone's got to do it, and apparently it's me. And then I'm going to be going to Wembley for the England-Brazil game the next week, so that should be fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah, that will be fun. Excellent stuff. And yes, we will keep winding people up, Archangel, no doubt about that. Follow Tom at Tom Canton Media, at the Gooner Talk TV. Squaddies, look out on our community page for the next live show. Please do catch up on Monday's show. They're still topical and they are still worth listening to. And I just posted my segment from Sky Sports News. It's always interesting to go back and see what the conversation was before the big game. And Super Kevin Campbell is watching. Super Kev, we love you. Keep up that recovery. Keep those messages coming. And Squaddies, have a great night. And remember, the haters will hate. Team Salty, out.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.